Avril went into a deep, dark depression, and in late 2003, she was found dead at her house.
It's not even just a rumor, it's that I'm dead. Aren't they saying like that I'm an imposter?
She dressed very punk rock. She wore pants. She did not wear skirts. She didn't wear dresses. Her hair was always straight, parted down the middle in front of her face.
From Let Go, she had a different kind of handwriting that her autograph also changed. She used to sign her name one way and then...
Yeah, some people think that I'm not the real me, which is so weird. Like, why would they even think that?
Is Avril Lavigne dead? A lot of people believe that Avril was replaced with a body double. When she first got onto the music scene, she was struggling. She didn't like the fame or the attention that came with it. So Avril's record label hired Melissa to take over that role. But once the pressure became too much for Avril, she took her own life. At this point, the record label took Melissa and transformed her into the Avril Lavigne we know today. It seems far-fetched, but everything from Avril's appearance to her sound to her personality has changed. So is Avril Lavigne dead? Let's get into it. As you guys know, I do all of my own research, and it can get really sketchy really quickly. That's why I use CyberGhost VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network that can serve many purposes. With CyberGhost VPN, all of your internet activity goes through a secure VPN tunnel. Your IP address is hidden and your data is encrypted. Pretty much this means that CyberGhost VPN will protect you and your device from malicious sites and hackers. But you can trust CyberGhost VPN because they'll never collect or share your data. Another reason why I love this VPN is because it will give you access to content you've never seen before. Some countries or regions restrict content on social media, so you can place yourself in another area to unblock restricted content. This can help you find better deals online, play games that are blocked in your region, or even get blocked libraries of over 40 streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and many more. If you want to protect yourself online, click the link in my description below and you'll receive a special discount. This is completely risk-free with a 45-day money-back guarantee, so check it out and use my link in the description below. Thank you, CyberGhost, for sponsoring this video, and enjoy. Before we get into this video, I want to give you guys a disclaimer that this is a conspiracy theory. It's not something I necessarily believe in, but I've heard this story before and I wanted to tell it for myself. Please do not send any hate or harassment to Avril or anyone mentioned in this video. So today we're breaking down the conspiracy that Avril Lavigne died and she was replaced by a clone named Melissa, which Melissa isn't necessarily a clone, but more of a body double. Avril Lavigne really popped off back in 2002 and 2003, and this conspiracy theory has been around ever since 2005. So pretty much as long as Avril has been famous, this conspiracy has been alive. It all originated from a Brazilian blog titled Avril is Dead, and this website is still up. I will link everything below, and a lot of the basis of this conspiracy is rooted in this blog. But there are plenty of people on the internet who believe this conspiracy to be real, and honestly for good reason, because there is a lot of proof that Avril Lavigne isn't the original Avril that we saw on our screens. So at the beginning of Avril's career, she was struggling with fame. I mean, it's not easy to handle the paparazzi and all of the attention, so she hired a body double named Melissa. This person could go and replace Avril at certain events, or when the paparazzi would be following Avril, they'll actually be following Melissa. But even with her body double Melissa, Avril was depressed, and this conspiracy claims that she ultimately took her own life and her body was found by her record company. Since they had Melissa handy, they were able to use Melissa to leverage her as Avril for Avril's second album, because at this point she started working on the second album, but if she took her own life, she wasn't able to complete it.
Give you an explanation that you probably are not expecting. So there has been this long-standing theory that Avril Lavigne has actually been dead since 2003. Are you confused yet? So listen, according to this theory, Avril Lavigne has actually been using a body double named Melissa to distract the paparazzi for her, attend different events for her, even sing at her concerts for her.
So according to this conspiracy, they even taught Melissa how to sing like Avril. But ultimately, they are two different people and they act differently. I mean, supposedly Melissa was okay with the paparazzi and the glitz and glam, and that's something that Avril had trouble accepting.
Her label went out and found a lookalike named Melissa Vandella, which they hired to portray Avril Lavigne for the press and the paparazzi and kind of handle some of the fame aspect of Avril's career just to take some of the stress off of her. In these clips, Avril's saying that it's literally her least favorite part, and in one, she describes her first encounter with the paparazzi where they ambushed her at a Subway and her drummer kind of like stepped in front of the camera and let her escape and saved her. Avril was just real hurt by it. It upset her. She felt violated.
Now let's get into the evidence that suggests that Melissa ultimately took Avril's place and fulfilled her career. So Avril Lavigne's second album was called Under My Skin, and it came out in May 2004. So Avril's second album was completely different from her first album, and a lot of people questioned the fact that she really changed up her style and her music and her look, and it just doesn't seem like it adds up to what she originally stood for.
People might, before they get to know me and my music, they might assume because of my age that, I'm another one of those pop chicks that dance around with the dancers and lip sync and all that stuff. I mean, it won't take them long to find out that I'm not like that I write my own songs, that I play guitar, and that I'm a rock chick, not a full-on pop chick.
It's interesting that Avril's second album and her performances and her music all became exactly what she originally hated. She wasn't about that life, yet her second album and her work following really stood for that, which maybe adds to the conspiracy that Melissa was behind everything. If you guys look at some of the promo art for this second album, you will see that Avril has a photo of herself with the word Melissa written on her hand. For whatever reason. It's not like Avril's name is Melissa. Her parents aren't named Melissa. I honestly cannot figure out why she has this written on her hand, and it really feeds into the idea that this isn't Avril anymore. So looking at the second CD, Under My Skin, if you take a peek at the artwork, you will see that the style of the letters of the design are completely different on the cover and the booklet. It's an album full of subliminal messages apparently left by the new Avril. Let's analyze it, because starting with the title and the cover, you will see that it says Avril Lavigne Under My Skin. This is very suggestive because she was no longer the real Avril, but Avril Lavigne under the skin of another singer. Also note that the name Avril Lavigne is written in black, which almost represents mourning. You'll also see Avril Lavigne wearing black with red crosses on her shoulder. The name Under My Skin is in red. The cover colors seem to suggest mourning and bloodshed. If Melissa, or the new Avril, wanted to send some subliminal messages, the artwork would be a perfect place to do so. But there is so much to unpack when it comes to this conspiracy. I do want to focus on this album to start with, but then we'll get into the physical changes in Avril's appearance. We'll talk a little bit about the idea that she did take her own life and much more. But I do want to briefly talk about her first album because it's called Let Go and it came out in June 2002. If you do take a look at the artwork, it is pretty different from her second album, which I don't think it's that crazy for an artist to switch up their look and their appearance for another album. I mean, look at Lady Gaga. It seems like she changes her entire personality per album, but people caught it. Now let's talk about this second album, Under My Skin, because a lot of people point to certain songs and certain lyrics to prove that Melissa took over as Avril. But honestly, personally, I'm not sold on all of them.
Avril Under My Skin comes out in 2004. Yeah. That's the next album.
Yes.
In this album, there were multiple songs, one being Slipped Away, where people think that she was hinting to transitioning into Melissa. I didn't think this was good support to the theory whatsoever because the lyrics to me seemed like they were just lyrics that you would sing about maybe like a boy slipping away from your fingers or something.
Honestly, ladies, I'm with you when it comes to that one, but there are some songs and some lyrics I want to break down for you guys, and then we'll get into the damning evidence, like the fact that this new Avril is a different height and they write differently. But in the song Nobody's Home, it seems like new Avril could be suggesting that old Avril took her own life, with lyrics like she's losing her mind and she fell from grace. You'll notice in Avril Lavigne's first album, it seems like she's speaking a lot about herself, but in this second album, she kind of speaks about herself in a third person. But I want to break down the music video of this song because I believe that the music video represents the death of old Avril and the rebirth of new Avril. So now let's break down this music video piece by piece. So starting the music video at 3 seconds in, there is an inverted image written Strat Sound 35, as in a mirror, referring to the fact that the new Avril is a mirror of the old one physically. Still at the 3 second mark, a letter A from Avril also appears, right after the plus sign. And then there's a letter D. The person who analyzed this music video believes that this suggests that Avril is dead and that the D is standing for death. Now getting into the music video storyline, because Avril plays herself in both characters. There's character 1 who's dressed in all black, and then character 2 who's wearing a wig. So we have 2 different characters here, but they both share the same face. So character 1 is in all black, which means that she's mourning. And if you look at the background of the video, you will see a violin and an orchestra, but there's no violin in the music, which would low-key represent a funeral. Then you see character 2 ask for a ride. This represents Avril wanting to get away from it all. You guys know that she was struggling with her career and fame, so it kind of adds up. It also looks like Avril first tried to disguise herself and run away somewhere else. There are also moments in the video that show character 2, the one wearing the wig, playing a guitar and singing in the mirror, so it's supposed to represent the fact that this is also a singer. Then at some point in the music video, character 2 decides to call her mother, and she informs them that she's decided to go home and to see them because she's not well. But the mother acts like she can't really handle this and doesn't really want to be involved with this daughter's life, which I think does represent the relationship between Avril and her own mother. Then later on in the music video, at the 3:15 mark, you will see the word Avril 2004 pop up on the screen, and then the letter X comes up, which almost suggests that this is like signifying that she's no longer here, that she's X'd out Avril 2004, which is the year the album came out. I believe that if Avril did take her own life, it would have been in 2003. So this music video may very well represent Avril Lavigne passing away and this new Melissa taking over. But what I think is odd is that there's another version of this music video, and it doesn't include these codes or the scene with Avril's mother, which I don't really understand why they would have a second version and why they would have these parts missing. Before we move on to the physical changes, I do want to cover a few more songs from this album. Later on in this video, we will discuss how Avril took her own life, but this song, My Happy Ending, suggests that she could have hung herself, which is what a lot of people believe. Lyrics like, "It's not like we're dead, in a city so dead, hanging so high, on a rope so fragile," which again feeds into the narrative that maybe old Avril took her life by using a rope. In the song Together, it seems like the new Avril is speaking about the old Avril, because the idea is that this album was partially done, but they had to work on the rest. And in the song Together, there's a lyric that reads, "The truth comes to me and I am living a lie." There's also another song called How Does It Feel? And in this song, they write, "How does it feel to be different than me? We are the same," which is suggestive that there's these two people who are very alike, but different people. In the song Take Me Away, it seems like Avril, the new Avril, is mourning the old Avril's death, and the fact that she has to impersonate her. The lyrics read, "All I do is hide. All my thoughts turn to you. What was never said, I can't deal with this mess." So maybe there's some type of internal conflict with Melissa taking over Avril's life. That's something I can't wrap my mind around, because as someone who lives unapologetically as myself, I can't imagine Melissa just taking on someone's entire life like Avril Lavigne's. I mean, some people refer to Melissa as a clone, but it's clear that she's not a clone. I mean, that's not a thing. So then how does this person completely erase themselves to become Avril? And then there are a few other lyrics from this album, like songs Who Knows, where they write, "Why do you look so familiar? I could swear I've seen your face before." And another song called Forgotten, where they write, "There's no reason to keep thinking about yesterday. Now it's too late. It will never be the same again. We're so different now," which may be referring to this bizarre relationship between Avril and Melissa. But there is a person who was close to the old Avril that we have to mention, because as soon as the new Avril stepped in, then he stepped out of the picture. His name is Evan, and he's a musician who was in Avril's band. They were also best friends, so they worked on music together, they traveled together, they played in shows together, they were really tight. Evan stepped away in 2004, but if you look at their last song together, the lyrics read, "We had the best years of our lives, but you and I will never be the same. September took me by surprise, and I was left to watch the seasons change. I never thought that this could end, never thought I would lose my best friend. Everything is different now. Can we stop the world from turning? I never thought I would have to let you go, never thought I would ever feel this low." So it seems like a pretty sad song that they wrote together as best friends. And it's odd because in the song he writes, "I was left here alone." And if he was just departing from the band and it was a simple breakup, then why would he lose his best friend? Like, if they were friends for years and years, then why does it have to end there?
September took me by surprise.
Because of this song with Evan, people believe that Avril took her life in September 2003, which doesn't necessarily add up with a timeline, because there are photos of Avril seen like after that point, but something significant happened in September, whether it was when she took her life or not. But now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about her appearance, because you must admit, from her first album to her second album and onward, she's completely different. Her vibe has completely changed.
Being dressed very punk rock, she wore pants, she did not wear skirts, she didn't wear dresses, her hair was always straight, parted down the middle in front of her face, kind of like, you know, when you can sometimes put your hair behind your back and then sometimes put it in front of you. It was always in front of her. And then after all of this changed, she started wearing dresses, she started wearing skirts, her hair wavy, not really parting it the same way.
So Avril Lavigne looks completely different, and you can notice these changes from photos from the 2003 Grammy Awards compared to images from the 2004 World Music Awards. If you look at the details, they really look like two completely different people. I mean, their style looks different, but if you look at their face, their nose, and just in general, they look like different people. If this conspiracy is a lie, then we must admit that Avril had some type of plastic surgery, whether it was a nose job or maybe an eyebrow lift. It does seem like her face has sharpened up a little bit and has opened up around her under eye and cheek area. So she does look different.
Also, people are pointing out the difference between pre-2003 Avril and post-2003 Avril, and the difference in their facial structures. People are saying that her nose is different, her cheeks are different, the new Avril has moved on from the emo phase, all this different stuff. Even that the new Avril smiles with her teeth. But another large piece of evidence that was found was this new Avril has a tattoo on her that literally says Melissa.
So I wasn't able to find a photo of a tattoo that reads Melissa on Avril's body. I mean, maybe she's talking about the promo image where she wrote Melissa on her hand, but what I did notice is that there are some changes in Avril's appearance which aren't easily done. So let's get into some of the freckles and the blemishes, because a lot of these things never really change over time. Like if you have a mole, then you have it forever. Like I have a mole right here, it's just gonna be here forever unless I get it removed. But in these images, you can see there are some some differences between the mole pattern on Avril's arm. I mean, initially the 1, 2, 4 kind of look very similar, but if you look at the image on the side, there are some additional moles that aren't appearing, I guess, on the original Avril. I would say in this image comparison, the person on the right looks like the original and the left would be Melissa. There are also some other marks on Avril's face, which include like it looks like almost like a blemish or a mole towards the middle of her face. I don't know if this is easily replicated, but it almost looks like Melissa does have these markings, which would be right here and right here. I mean, in the last image, you only see that one, but maybe because the hair is covering the second like mole that she would have. And if this is really Avril, because it's just a conspiracy theory, then maybe she just had a nose job and she just looks a little bit different. Back in 2006, a magazine called Life and Style actually hired a doctor to, I guess, break down and analyze Avril's face and to come to the conclusion that she got a nose job. He believes that she had a rhinoplasty, which would have cost about $10,000, and originally her nose was shorter, but then they made her nose, I guess, larger and more refined. You guys know that we do not plastic surgery shame on this channel, so if Avril Lavigne went and got her nose done, then sure, but honestly, just Avril doesn't seem like that type of person. Like, doing my research for this video, I've watched a lot of old clips of Avril and her music videos, and it doesn't seem like she really cared about those superficial things. So like a nose job seems more probable than like a clone body double, but then at the same time, it doesn't really fit who Avril was as a person. But getting into some more of the nitty gritty, let's talk about the fact that Avril Lavigne's height changed, because that's a red flag. If you guys go and look at a bunch of different websites, you will see about every other website has a different height for Avril. It seems like her original height back in 2002 was 1.58 meters, but now on some websites you will see that it reads 1.55 meters. So when it comes to feet and inches, it's only about 1 inch difference, but that's pretty big, I guess. Like, you can't really just like jump an inch or not. Actually, I thought it was 5'9", but I had my dad measure me with like a tape measure and like a level, and I'm actually 5'8". So I guess I did change an inch recently. It is true that you can shrink as you get older, but there really wasn't a lot of time between 2002 and now, and it wouldn't make sense that she would shrink so much. Another sign that Avril Lavigne is no longer Avril Lavigne but a replacement is the idea that her handwriting had changed. There are some people on Twitter who pulled out some receipts comparing Avril Lavigne's old handwriting to her new handwriting, and if you look at this image, you have to admit that the handwriting on the right hand side is a lot more clean than the left hand side, which would be Avril's new handwriting on the right.
There's also people were looking at the album inserts, like for the CDs, like when they would have pictures of handwritten lyrics and things like that, and they said that her handwriting really changed. That from Let Go, she had a different kind of handwriting, that her autograph also changed. She used to sign her name one way, and then, you know, after 2003, her signature, her autograph looked different. Mm-hmm.
So between Avril's physical changes and her height and her handwriting and her overall style, you must admit that she does seem like she had a big change, and it almost doesn't seem like she's authentically herself. I mean, clearly she was young when she first came onto the scene and people changed, but Avril was the type of girl who wore like sneakers and rocker outfits, and then the new Avril wears high heels and dances and acts a lot more feminine. And clearly there aren't any issues with her changing if she wants to do that, but it feeds into this conspiracy theory. And we need to talk about her vocals, because honestly, that's where I start like, when I get into this part of it's almost like as I was doing research, like the lyrics were like, okay, then the physical things, oh, okay, and then the sound, the music, I was like, okay, wait, hold up, this part of the conspiracy is what really gets me. Avril Lavigne originally had more of a mezzo-like voice, which I didn't really understand what that meant until I started watching clips, and the new Avril is more of a soprano, so a higher pitch voice, a little bit softer. Now let's go ahead and do some comparisons. So here's a comparison of them speaking against each other.
The compilation album for War Child, which is called Songs of Peace, which goes towards the children who've been affected by the
So you can hear a difference in the tone of their voices, but I get that that video clip is a little bit hard to understand. So we will break it down even further. But here's a comparison of them two singing against each other.
Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door.
So in that song, the knock knock knocking on heaven's door, you can hear that the old Avril has a much lower tone. Now I want you guys to listen closely to these next two clips because you will hear in the words for and before that they're always out of tune. It doesn't seem like the new Avril can reach the same tones that the old Avril could in this music.
Chill out, what you yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you will see.
So that would have been the old Avril singing, and here's the new Avril's voice.
Chill out, what you yelling for? Lay back, it's all been done before. And if you could only let it be, you will see.
And when it comes to their speaking voices, you can also hear some differences. Here is old Avril's speaking voice.
A compilation album for War Child, which is called Songs of Peace, which goes towards the children who've been affected by the war, and it just came out like April 4th.
And here's a comparison to Avril's new speaking voice.
The song that I'm going to perform for you guys is the first song that I ever learned to play guitar to when I was a little girl, and so it has a lot of meaning to me. This is a Bob Dylan tune.
So clearly the new Avril Lavigne is a lot more soft-spoken. Here's another comparison of them singing against each other, and you can really hear the differences in how they pronunciate these words.
Knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
They sound completely different there. I mean, there are some similarities. You have to admit that she does kind of sound like Avril Lavigne, but they do sound different at the same time. And there are certain notes that it seems like the new Avril can't hit, like I was mentioning earlier. Here's an example.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I don't know if you guys could notice there, but she really can't hit the with part, the I'm with you. Here's another clip of that moment.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Maybe her voice is a little bit strained. I mean, after you've been singing for years and years, you would think that your voice quality would go down. But I don't know. I think about, I'm mentioning Lady Gaga again, but Lady Gaga, her voice has almost improved over time. And here's a comparison of the CD track with a live performance and then a live performance of the new Avril, because I want you guys to hear how similar the old Avril sounded to the CD version, and then the new Avril just doesn't quite sound the same.
What she yelling for? What she yelling for? So what she yelling for? It's all been done before. It's all been done before. It's all been done before. You the way you are. You the way you are. You the way you are. Driving in your car. Driving in your car. Driving in your car. Over on and out. Over on and out. Like you're something else. Like you're something else. When you strike your pose. When you strike your pose. All your preppy clothes. All your preppy clothes. What she yelling for? What she yelling for?
So vocally, Avril Lavigne sounds different in these various clips, and that's something that really caught me off guard. But if you look at the production and the artistry behind her music, that's also shockingly different. Here's a clip of an old music video that she put out before.
You turn That's when I decided
I actually love that song. Ever since I came across it again, I've been listening to it nonstop. And if you compare that piece of work to some of her newer pieces of work, I mean, it just seems like they really are different people. That song is called The Best Damn Thing, and even though I do love that song, I have to admit that it seems like a completely different vibe from the original Avril. And if you look at some of the lyrics, they read, "Where are the hopes, where are the dreams, my scene from the Cinderella story? When you think they finally see, you know, no, no, you will never get rid of me, like it or not, even if she looks a lot like me, we are not the same." In those lyrics, it seems like the new Avril is really establishing and declaring herself. Whether you like it or not, she's going to be around, and this is who she is. It's out with the old, in with the new. And speaking of some of her older pieces of work, I have to do another comparison. So watch this clip. That song is so beautiful, so raw. The music video alone is simple, it's classy, and then you compare it to songs like this. That song really irks me because it's giving me like cultural appropriation, but like not even like, I don't know, at least like Gwen Stefani, she was cultural appropriation, which is not okay, but at least her music was good. This like music is really bad and it's like appropriate. Like, please do, if you're going to appropriate, at least try to do it justice. It just isn't cute. But I want to talk a little bit about that original song, Mobile, because that's a song that she really felt like it described her life. And I think it's very telling when you look at the lyrics.
Alrighty, this next song's about my life, so everyone put your hands together.
So in that clip, Avril performed this song live, and before she started to sing, she announced that this song was about her life. So looking at the lyrics, they read, "I came home again. This is boring. They pack up and leave again. I say goodbye to all my friends. I don't know when I'll be back." So talking, like, this is referring to her old common life with her friends, and now it's kind of clashing with her new singing career.
I went back home again. This sucks, gotta pack up and leave again. Say goodbye to all my friends. Can't say when I'll be there again.
Then she writes, "Now is the time I turn around. Turn your back on everything. Everything is changing. When I turn around, I'm out of control. I'm a mobile." I'm a mobile. Mobile is like one of those things that like in the cribs, you know, like the floating little, like, I'll have my editor put a picture up, but you know, those things that hang from baby cribs, that's kind of what she's describing. And she's talking about her new life in music and how things are changing around herself, comparing herself to this mobile device that's attached to a ceiling and that turns and changes and hanging from these strings.
It's time now to turn around, turn my back on everything. It's time to back on everything.
Then she writes, "I review this life, I stretch it back to the light. I'm awake to say I tried. Instead of waking up to another TV guide, the time is now, I turn around, I came back and walked this crazy floor." This really represents the conflict between the two worlds that she was in between, her life at home with her friends and her safety zone, and then this celebrity. And once you're mobile, once you're attached to this like ceiling device, you can't really go back. It's kind of like, you know, she's declaring her own new identity as this singer, and it's not something that she's excited to accept. You guys know that Avril was really struggling with her career and herself, and it seems like her own identity. She writes, "Yeah, hanging from the ceiling, my life is a mobile," comparing herself to this object, spinning around with mixed feelings, crazy and wild. Sometimes I want to scream out loud. So she's got the emotional conflict, and then everything is changing everywhere I go. So these these conflicts are internal, but the changes are external in the world around her. What's really depressing about this song in general is that she's singing about this device, this hanging mobile device. And some people believe that this is also like foreshadowing her taking her own life, because if she did go and hang herself, it's kind of like she's singing about this object that's hanging. And I mean, clearly she didn't know that this would have happened to her at this time, but the conspiracy suggests that this is a foreshadowing part of the entire story. If this conspiracy is true, then that's pretty depressing to think that she was singing about this song and her, you know, the conflicts that she was going through, and then it kind of like, again, like represents how she would have taken her own life. But I do want to speak about that music video for this song for no specific reason, which I'm like, no specific reason. Usually when I read that, I'm like, let me figure out the specific reason. But supposedly this music video was withheld for 8 years and then it leaked in 2011. So it's a little bit odd this music video never really came out. There are also moments in this song and in this music video where Avril is emotional and she's tearing up, and they feel like this is kind of a sign in this music video, so it doesn't really add up to why they would have withheld it for so long.
All my friends can't say when I'll be there again.
Now let's get into how Avril would have taken her own life, because as I've said throughout this video, people believe that Avril hung herself and that she was extremely depressed, especially after her grandfather passed away.
All this was apparently happening at the beginning of her career when she was dealing with the pressures and the struggles of being famous. So at some point in 2003, theorists have said that she had died, and a lot of people were like, well, how? How did she die? The most popular theory was that she had taken her own life due to, you know, the dark emotions she was feeling because of being famous, plus the struggle that she expressed through her music. Now, as insane as this sounds, there has actually been evidence presented to prove why people think that this new Avril is a clone.
Personally, I don't really like the narrative of this clone idea because I feel like that's just so far-fetched, but like a body double who takes over, I mean, a lot of celebrities use body doubles, and if you look at some of the last images of the real Avril, she wasn't looking too hot. It seemed like she was emotionally distraught in these images, and she looks very tired, a little bit ill. You can see that her nose is red, her skin is very like green and pale looking, and she honestly looks miserable here. So this would have been, I guess, around the time where she would have ultimately taken her own life.
One night she got word that her grandfather had passed away. Now this news devastated her. It left her in tears in the middle of her concert, just ending the show off with a sad, slow song dedicated to him as she walked off the stage crying. But this is when Melissa started to come into play. Now at this time, Avril Lavigne had already started working on writing songs for her second album, but with the pressure of releasing this next album, the eyes of the press, all the fame, the paparazzi, and her grandpa's death, Avril went into a deep, dark depression, and in late 2003, she was found dead at her house. I'm not sure if her family or her record label found her or her band, but they walked in to see that she had hung herself, and everybody that knew about this kept it under wraps. No one said a peep.
When it comes to the hanging itself, there's not a lot of evidence. I think that's why this conspiracy kind of falls a little bit flat, because like, if, I don't know, like I guess you would expect, I guess, these bandmates and this record label just to keep everything on the down low, but I mean, is that really possible? Who knows? Hollywood works in crazy ways. But I did find a performance from 2002, and Avril was performing Complicated, and in this performance, I had to mention the fact that she has like a band-aid on her wrist. I know that this can be triggering for some people, but if Avril Lavigne, if she were to go and hang herself, then, I mean, self-harm isn't really far from that mentality, and who knows if she tried to do something to her wrist. Obviously, that would be really sad because, I mean, it's almost like a cry for help, and you could see her on TV with this bandage around her wrist, but at the same time, if you know, we don't really know how she would have taken her own life. Maybe this was an injury, who really knows? But if she wasn't shy to self-harm, then it would feed into the conspiracy that maybe she would have, you know, taken her own life. You guys are probably asking, why don't we go and just ask Avril herself? And she has been asked about this conspiracy, and there are a few different ways that she has responded. Here is a video clip of her on a Facebook Live addressing the situation.
Is it strange that people think you're dead? Like, what the f***? I don't even know why, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is weird. I think they don't have anything else to talk about right now. So at least they're talking. And I think it's like really silly that anyone would even believe that, but yeah, it's this huge rumor. It's not even just a rumor. It's that I'm dead. Aren't they saying like that? Like I'm an imposter. I'm an imposter. Mm-hmm. Damn. Do I like look that different? But then at the same time, other people will say that I haven't aged, and they'll take pictures of me from like way back and like now and be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't age. She looks the same. So it kind of doesn't really make any sense. I think people are just bored and they need something to talk about.
Avril has a point there, because a lot of people do point at her and say that she has never really aged, because she does look really great, and you guys see her around nowadays with MGK and Travis Barker and all of them. I believe they're all signed to the same record label, but that wasn't the only time that she's been asked about this situation. And in this old interview, she seems a little uncomfortable by the question.
Reading on the internet, and some people say that you were died, and this is a clone of you. Have you read about this?
I didn't hear about it. I just hear about it from, I'm hearing about it from you.
Well, I'm here.
And I'm in Brazil.
It's a clone.
Here's the final moment I found where she addresses these rumors, and it was on a radio talk show.
What about, did you laugh at the rumors that went around where you no longer exist and there's a clone of you? So you died like years ago and there's a clone pretending to be you.
That's mental.
Yeah, some people think that I'm not the real me, which is so weird. Like, why would they even think that?
I don't know.
Oh,
I love this game.
There's some whack
they
jobs
delve
out
right
there.
into it. I can't remember. It's something weird. Even when I was looking at the article, like the big conspiracy theory, I'm like, do you know what? Maybe they're right. Like, you read a conspiracy theory and you get sucked into it because they've got so much evidence that proves you're not real.
So dumb.
But that one of all the conspiracy theories was probably the most far-fetched.
So dumb.
Yeah.
Remember, guys, if you want to protect yourselves online, check out CyberGhost VPN, linked in my description below. You'll receive a special discount, and there's a 45-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk in checking it out. Thank you, CyberGhost VPN, for sponsoring this video. Avril Lavigne is right. This conspiracy is weird, and if she is who she's always been, then I don't know, I feel like she could have done better at closing up the rumors and putting that away, but they continue to live on. And every couple years, this starts trending on Twitter again, and people are talking about it and comparing her music and her appearance to her old self. And I have to hear what you guys think in the comments below, because I personally, I do notice some things, but then at the same time, I don't know if I necessarily believe it, because it does seem far-fetched. But then I also, like, there's something that definitely changed in her life, because if you look at that Hello Kitty music video compared to her old music, it's like, what happened? Like, did Hollywood get to her and rot her mind to have her create these songs that are trash? But I don't know, she is kind of going back to her old sound, well, not her old sound, but her older sound in some of her recent music. So I've been a big fan of Avril Lavigne's for a very long time, and I had to talk about this conspiracy with you guys. So comment below, and here's my email if you guys have any other video ideas for me. Until next time, I will see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.